I think in 2019, the exemption was provided. Now the exemption continues, so we've extended it. Then there is a reduction in the rate of compensation cess to 0.1% on supplies to merchant exporters at par with the GST rate on such supplies. So this was a particularly important request which had come from traders and exporters. In order to help exporters, this relief is being provided, otherwise their working capital was getting blocked because they pay it and then claim back. So this is with a clear intent of helping exporters. Next is to exempt IGST imports of all equipment and consumable samples by inspection teams of the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, subject to specific conditions. Then this is another important step which you can link with the fortified rice that I spoke about, also to help the weaker sections, to extend the concessional 5% GST on input of food preparations that are supplied for food preparations intended for free distribution to economically weaker sections under a government program subject to existing conditions. So this is also an extension of the 5% rate which prevails for food items which go into food preparation that is used for free distribution for the weaker sections. So these are the reduction or exemption or extension of rates. There are such for services, I'm not elaborating it for this minute. There are clarifications also being issued on ACC blocks containing more than 50% fly ash. If it has more than 50% fly ash content, it will fall under a particular HS code of 6815 and it will attract 12% GST. This is very important, the next one, which is also a clarification that black pepper, whether fresh green black pepper or dried black pepper and raisins, that is kishmish, when supplied by an agriculturist, is not liable to GST. So when a merchant buys it and sells it, is a different story. But if the agriculturist himself, call him a farmer, call him a plantation worker, if he himself is giving it or a small person is giving it, then it is not liable to GST. Then this will be important to amend the definition of pre-packaged and labeled items to cover all commodities that are intended for retail sale and containing not more than 25 kg or 25 liters, which are pre-packed as defined by the Legal Metrology Act, or a label affixed thereto is required to bear the declarations under the provisions of the Act. This is also very important because it's an amendment, so that clarification has for the lack of it, has created a lot of confusion. So we are defining what actually is prepackaged and packaged. Before I get into the detail of other, there's one other important thing. Payment aggregators who do less than 2,000 rupees payment are eligible for exemption. But let us understand, and I provide this clarification now, that this exemption does not cover payment gateways and other fintech services which do not involve settlement of funds. So payment aggregators alone, I'm talking about, who do less than 2,000 rupees will have that exemption provided. Another important decision, there are several which will be covered in detail in your press note, which all of you all will receive. I clarify that no GST is payable on the penal charges levied and collected by banks and NBFCs from borrowers for non-compliance with loan terms. This will be very important for small businesses, so I repeat it. The Council has desired that we issue a clarification that no GST is payable on the penal charges levied and collected by banks and NBFCs from borrowers for non-compliance with loan terms. Before I get into the specific details of others, broad items of interest for all of you all, I'd like to list them out. There are about 8 of them. We have our Minister of State, Pankaj Chaudhary ji, who chaired the compensation cess-related group of ministers. They have given a request to the Council, which the Council has accepted today, that they need more time to get into the details. So that has been given an extension. Nothing specifically mentioned about the term, but extension has been provided. Then there was this request placed on the agenda whether